Welcome back to the 2023 FVC Summer Series, Round 6 at Silverstone. It's the British Grand Prix week and our final sprint of the season. We'll wait for a number of cars to start coming out. There is 15 drivers with us this week, as well as... Why don't we take a quick look before everything starts going at our previous sprints and who is on pole for them. Bringing up the graphic, we see 2023 Summer Series Austria, or is that Australia? I can't quite read. It was OJ on pole position for that race. We see the first number of cars starting to file their way out of pit lane, led out by the AlphaTauri of Gerhard, and then the two McLarens, as well as the two Haas's following closely behind. Moving on back to Season 5, Italy was taken by D765 and France taken by Azzy as there's a spinning Haas in the background. Not quite sure whose that is. Conditions do not look overly favourable. It's quite dark, but it is not wet currently on track, but drivers do seem to be struggling with temperature somewhat heading off track already. The AlphaTauri goes. And all the way back in Season 4, Italy was taken by Scarly42 as well. Any of those four drivers could potentially get the first two-time sprint pole record. However, it is entirely possible that somebody else gets it as well. As always, if there's anybody in chat that's currently watching and wants to see me jump on board with any of the cars, or if there's any problems with the broadcast, please let me know as soon as possible and I'll try my best to get them fixed. Otherwise, we're going to be continuing on as normal. We see Skirt running off the track again. Just coming out of turn 9, middle of the mid sector. Scarlet in chat saying terrified of this track, to be honest. It definitely can bite you hard if you're not prepared for it, but it is one of the most well-known tracks in the world. The yellow flag coming up for Sector 3, a slow-moving McLaren. Unsure who that is. Speaking of the McLarens, let's jump over to King and right on board. Medium compound tyre for the McLaren runner. See what he does for his first lap in qualifying. Coming around the final corner. 18 turns on this circuit, heading down the first straight now. No DRS until you get up to the end of the first sector. Heading into the first corner. It is flat out if you get it right. But if it is any worse conditions, you might just have to let off now. Heading into turn 3. Hard braking. It's basically two hairpins in a row to finish out the first sector before heading through turn 5, which is a very high-speed left-hander. You get the line right, you can go through flat here as well. Now, DRS going to be wide open all the way down this straight up until turn 6. And then as soon as you get down there, past the 100 meter into the 50 meter board, it is hard braking, a hard left, and immediately another hairpin, but a long one this time to the right. Getting out of Woodcote, it's up to Copse Corner, which is turn number 8 on the circuit. Again, tiny little lift throughout this corner. Back on the power immediately, very early, and very well done there from King. As you move all the way down to Maggots and Beckett's to say 4 or even 5 turn complex, you can be flat in, but you've got to start letting off and even start braking through the middle sector. If you get it right, you can get very quick, but get it wrong and you are losing a bunch of time. Now, second DRS zone, moving under. Onto the final straight. Up to turn 15. It's another very high-speed corner. Getting a good exit out of every corner here is vital to be able to get the best lap time possible. King navigates it nicely, heading through the final corner again. Another one that's flat if you get it right. Taking the first fastest lap of the bars was 129, but immediately beaten by Azzy, who's at a 127. OJ heading into second place with a 128.2. Obviously, King not very high up there, being on medium compound tires compared to the others being on the softs. Not a surprise there, really. However, we see Harrison M and Gerhard not setting any last laps, possibly a boarding halfway through. Let's jump over to the Mercedes of Thunderbird, who's going to be the next one up to come across the line. $127,471 for the Mercedes driver. I spotted a quick problem with the audio. There we go. It is now fixed. Should be able to hear the cars nice and clearly now. Please, again, if there's any problems with the stream, let me know. Or if I need to change any of the audio settings. Pixel's coming across the line. It's a 130.185. He's definitely going to be doing a lot better if he wants to get anywhere. There's a Red Bull spun around of Brady up near turn 7. Jumping on down the list again to head over to the AlphaTauris. Tristan comes across the line. It's a 127.951. Very quick lap time from him. We see just how quick these cars can go through there, and of course you can go too wide, but it's very risky. The yellow flags come out for Skirt going quite slowly off the exit from Chapel, possibly trying to get himself a bit of track space to set a lap. Of course, all the cars around are going to be trying to do the same thing. Heading on board with Scarlet now as well. Not feeling confident around this track, she says, on the week leading up, and of course immediately invalidating the lap over turn 1. You've got to be careful to not run over too tight on that inside curve, otherwise you will invalidate the whole lap, and it's a long way around. It's one of the longer tracks on the calendar. As high speed as it is in sections, it is definitely a bigger distance to cover. Heading over to the second Alpine of Rosenquist. I'm not quite sure what it is like over on that side of the garage. I've not heard much off of it myself. Solid entry through the first few corners, heading into the hairpin of turn 3. Little bit slow on the exit, gets it in well. Has to get on the counter steer coming up the exit. Going to be compromising all the way down this straight. It's a big loss, and it only gets amplified with the longer our straight is, even with the DRS open. Now at the start of sector 2, turns 6 and 7. Hard braking left-hander to a very long hairpin right. Got to be careful on the exit there of turn 9 too. You run too far wide, you could invalidate your lap as well. I expect to see a couple of cars running out there on the first lap of the race and taking avoiding action, as it is a very high speed corner, but you never know. The accordion effect could come into play, as some drivers might just have to take a little lift through that corner to be able to make it through at a comfortable speed, but that could obviously cascade down the field and you have to be careful. Getting through turn 15 doesn't keep it to the inside. That is mainly what you want to do through there because of how the turn is structured. Runs out nicely. Now through the final chicane, misses the first apex, heading into it just slightly off the second one. And then round the final corner to set their first lap of the session. It goes up to a 1:33.671. Probably not a full push lap as well as on the medium compound tyre. You're not going to be doing yourself any favours there. Jumping back up to the McLaren of King, it's a 1:29.046 to beat, and he's on the soft compound tyres now, heading around the final corner, gets on the apex for the second to last corner nicely, and final one as well on the apex, pretty much perfectly heading across the line. Doesn't seem to improve, I'm not quite sure if they were on a flying lap or not yet, but if they weren't, they definitely are now. Yellow flags in sector 3 for the Alfa Romeo of, not quite sure which one it is. But getting themselves cleared away nice and quickly. Purple first sector for the McLaren of King. Yellow is also coming out in sector 1 as another Alfa Romeo to come into bother. Might pose a bit of a problem for that Williams coming around, as there was also a stuck Alpine as well, just before the detection zone. That's all going to be behind King. He's not really focusing on any of that, as it won't come to any hindrance of him. Nicely round turn 9. Slight lift in the entrance to Maggots as well as into Beckett's as well. And same goes for Chapel. But kept into the inside line perfectly, and now all the way down the straight. No DRS zone here, you have to rely perfectly on your slipstream. In fact, no, there is a DRS zone there. I didn't quite see it from the green sectors coming up. My apologies for that mistake. Braking hard but nicely in. Hits the first apex well. Second apex, perfect. Running out just a little bit, open up that corner for yourself, misses the apex around the final corner, but up into 6th place provisionally, so 1:28.387. The McLaren driver, that puts him about 8 tenths of a second ahead of his teammate, who is down in 8th. Next up to cross line is going to be the Alfa Romeo of Blah, who I think is the Alfa Romeo who came into issues. I'm not quite sure, I wasn't paying attention much. Up into 4th for him, it's a 1:28.066, and he is continuing around, possibly for another flying lap. ping when there is 3 to 4 minutes left. I will attempt to do that for you, Dorado, however I cannot provide any promises. Yellow flags again for Blood's teammate HP8 having issues around the last corner, completely stopped off track and backwards even. Not sure what's happened there, but it has not been a good session for the second Alfa Romeo. Debuted Season 5 China won the race outright as well, sitting as a reserve and spins it round through the first corner. Thankfully there's a lot of free area for him and nobody around, but that is very, very overheated tyres causing that. We'll go to a replay again. No grip from those overheated tyres, just moves completely round on its own. Nothing you can do to save it once it starts going round like that. Jumping back over, it's an invalidated lap for the other Alfa Romeo, so let's head over to Psycho in the Ferrari. Currently on their out lap. See how they do to get their tyres up to temperature. Nicely on the inside around turn 15. Still going out in sector 1. That Alfa Romeo again coming to problems at the beginning of the second sector. Staying on board with Psycho, it's a 127 to pole, a 133.6. Currently the slowest time on the board. Still 4 cars so to set a time, Psycho included, into the first section. Bit wide to hit the first few corners coming around again. Hits it well for turn 5 now, all the way down the straight. Good entry into there will be helping all the way down, but obviously the straight line speed of your car is going to be very, very, very crucial. Moving the entire way down nicely into 6 and good line through 7 as well. Bit of a lift for confidence as well as hitting the apex nicely in turn 9. Lift and downshift all the way through Maggot Specs and Chapel. This is this section of the chicanes. Turn 10 all the way up to 14. Validated a lap for Psycho. It's going to have to go around again, as there is 5 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in qualifying. Psycho heading into pit lane, possibly to make a couple of setup adjustments, or maybe even to get onto a new set of tyres. Heading over now to the McLaren of Harrison M. The next one we're going to be finishing a lap. It's a 129.1692B for him. It's a very quick driver, currently down in 8th. A little bit of a lock-up heading into the final chicane, as we heard from possibly the front left tyre. Gets it out of the final corners nicely though, heading over the line. Moves up into 7th place with a 128.510, up close to his teammate. Was currently out on an out lap. There might possibly be a little bit of teamwork going on there a little bit later, as D75 makes his way into the session, making driver number 18 with 4.5 minutes left of qualifying. Set over to the AlphaTauri of Tristan as he sets a purple middle sector, and it is a disconnect late for Blah. Hoping he can get back into the session quickly, but let's have a quick look at how Tristan ends off this lap. It's a nice exit through turn 15. Heavy on the brakes, tyres squealing just a little bit, trying to get that thing slowed down. Nicely through the final corners though. First line, if this is good, it's going to be a good lap. And it's a 127.914 to 3rd for the AlphaTauri driver. But invalidates it immediately coming through the first corner. As Sass retires from the session, let's jump over to the McLaren and into the right hand side wall. That's a very odd place to have an accident. Spinning around the final corner, hitting into the right hand side wall. Not sure how it happened, but if I had to guess, possibly overheated tyres and no grip throughout it. Send over the notification to Dorado that there is 3 minutes remaining in the qualifying session. Heading back to the AlphaTauris Going across the line. It's a very slow-moving skirt who intentionally puts it into the right-hand side wall to end off qualifying. Not entirely sure what to make of that. Intentionally crashing at the car. 12th place at best for the Irish driver. A quick momentary pause to try and get somebody into the session. Don't see Dorado on my list. Keeping on board with Pixels heading into the final corners nicely on the entrance for both. It's a very heavily and even invalidating most likely through the final corner of the final part of the chicane. There's 1 minute and 20 seconds left. There's a interesting line from Pixels there. Let's head over to the Red Bull of Brady, who is finishing off a lap. 1:28.779 to beat. It's the Stockholm tyres. It's going to be a very good one if he can get this last corner correct. A little bit of a wibble, but 1:27.386 onto provisional pole position for the Red Bull driver. Ferrari of Psycho going again for another lap. We'll keep an eye on him. Heading up next is going to be the Mercedes of D75 to start. Going to be another lap, as well as Apex coming up to finish one possibly. Staying on board, it's a very, very poor exit out of the final chicane coming across the line. Doesn't seem to have went off any, but it might be starting another lap. You know how this game can be glitchy sometimes. Next is going to be an Alfa Romeo of HP8. Again, no marker there saying he's on an out lap. We're going to be seeing if he's finishing off his first flying lap. 30 seconds to go in qualifying, but no, he's starting his final lap himself. VNT Rosenquist as well are going to be starting off a lap, as well as a Williams, as Tristan retires from the session. I can't see where, possibly in pit lane. As King also retires in pit lane as well. It's two very close together. Pixel's going for another lap. As is Scarlet, as is the Haas of Azzy. We'll keep an eye on how that dot progresses around the map. Lark comes across the line, 7th place for the Alfa Romeo, so 1:28.066, as is the Mercedes of Thunderbird. It is a 1:27.471 for him, as Mateo now joins the session just a little too late. Going to be down at the bottom for Ferrari. Psycho coming across the line to end will not set a lap, as that final one is invalidated. Now moving over to D75, his only lap of the session, jumping on board decently out of the second part of the chicane, through the final corner nice and well. Moves up into second, a 1:27.415, setting a purple final sector. Up next though is going to be the Haas of Apex, who's already on an invalidated lap, so not going to be going anywhere up for him. Then it is going to be a spin for Apex. Moving up to Rosenquist is also on an invalidated lap. The next car up then is going to be a Williams, trying to jump over and find who it is. Not going to be Salmon. So it'll be OJ, who's also invalidated a lap. The only car I can see that is currently on a clean and valid lap is going to be Pixels to the Aston Martin. The 1:30.185 to beat. All eyes are on the Haas behind of Azzy. Half second off of pole position provisionally, coming around the final corner. It'll get a little bit of a slipstream, doesn't have anything, and it's only second, a 1:27.391. There's nothing up at the top. Pixels 13th, a 1:29.972. And that will end off qualifying. There is your order. It is very close up at the top. Only 5,000th of a second separates first from second. One minute remaining in the session as HP8 is still in the pit lane, but that is qualifying over for the FVC Summer Series Round 6. Brady Pollock takes pole position for the sprint race with a 1:27.386, and 5 thousandths behind is going to be Azzy in Haas, a 1:27.391 for her. Third and fourth, a complete second row lockout for Mercedes team of D75 then Thunderbird, and W.O. Tristan takes 5th place, Scarlett in 6th, and Sam Bicker in 7th, with King in 8th, Blah 9th, and OJ English in 10th. Moving on down the grid is going to be 11th place for Haas and M, 12th for Apex, it's 13th for Pixels, 14th for Skirt Hard, and 15th for Rosenquist. And setting a lap, or without setting a lap, is Dorado 16th, HP 17th, Saskia in 18th, Psycho in 19th, and Matedo in 20th. It's a complete back row for Ferrari. Welcome back to the 2022 FVC Summer Series. 20 seconds until we get underway for our sprint. Let's take another look at our previous sprint polls. OJ was the last time out for this Summer Series down in the last time we had a sprint, and Italy and France in Season 5 were taken by D75 and Azzy respectively. Girl was also in this race, Season 4 sprint pole for Italy for her as we get underway for our sprint very, very shortly. The lights are on, no formation lap for our sprints, it's lights out and away we go. Looks to be roughly about equal starts for everybody up at the front of the grid, but the been there pulling out already off the track, and Williams also got a very good start. Heading through the first corner is going to be absolute carnage, a very flat out corner. Some cars going off track, and there's already a Ferrari and an Aston Martin around. It's going to be Pixels and Matedo getting a very bad start. Azzy's already up into first. Thunderbird and D75 for the Mercedes duo up into second and third. The Red Bull of Brady is falling down the field ever so slightly, and there's already Scarlett up into fifth, and King actually up into fifth. Scarlett and sixth. They're going to be battling all the way down the straight. Whoever's got the higher top speed of these two is going to be getting the better run. The second Aston Martin having a bother as well of. Not quite sure, possibly Sass, but trying challenging down the inside goes Scarlett round turn 7. Getting ahead of King, moving down. Another going to be a slipstream straight. King does seem to have the faster car than Scarlett, but again a little bit of confidence lift right wide, hitting around turn 9. But it's going to be catching up again. You can already see the speed of that McLaren car getting up to the back of the Alpine, but just doesn't have it in the corners. That Alpine's going to be pulling ahead. Also missing the apex ever slightly is Carnage lower down. Cars constantly positioned. Psycho's up into 13th. There's another 2 or 3 cars off the Alfa Romeo of HPA and the Alpine of Rosenquist, as King heading down the inside into the turn 15. There's another high speed corner. Straight line speed of that McLaren car. Wonders for this battle. Skirt choosing in time for multiple warnings. Not going to be helping his race any. Azzy, first fastest lap of the race at 1:31.828. Not surprising. The leader over the first lap, immediately up into first place off the start. There's already another incident in the back. That is the Williams of OJ falling down the field after contact. I'm not quite sure with who. It looked like possibly the Red Bull of Dorado. As the AlphaTauri of Skirt goes and lets by Psycho. Have a quick jump over to the replay scene and see if we caught any of that. It was a contact with the Alfa Romeo, actually, it looked like. Tristan and Dorado going at each other again, the AlphaTauri and the Red Bull teams. Not usually two you see fighting in real life, but out here they are all equal. Every single car is the same performance as each other. Much better line throughout the corner for Dorado, but that AlphaTauri just has much greater top speed we see, even pulling away in that short little straight. Tristan is just getting away, but nothing on the corner, nearly running to the back goes the Red Bull. Skirt, another 2 penalty for multiple warnings. He goes right on the outside, coming out of Chapel onto the grass, just a little bit too wide, and that AlphaTauri is flying down the straight. English now 2 penalty for multiple warnings, and that's why that thing's so fast. There's no front wing in that AlphaTauri. Psycho also having a look at Dorado, trying to find any way past. They are both stuck behind this AlphaTauri, who's not gone in, staying out for another lap. Thunderbird at 1:29 and King at 1:28. Fastest lap of the race, heading at the top of the grid. It is still a very harsh fight up there. DRS is enabled, and there's another incident down at the third to last corner for the chicane. Obviously these sprints are much shorter, only 5 laps, but Tristan is trying anything to keep that AlphaTauri in the final point, and there's HP8 out of the race. Also down with Pixels just at the start of pit lane. Battle over the final point paying position. There's only top 8 score in a sprint race. 8 points for the win and 1 point for 8th place. Everything to play for as Dorado gets past down the inside. A very vicious move against Tristan. Psycho again moving down the inside of the next corner. He's falling places, and that broken front wing is going to be paying him no favours. He gets a better line somehow throughout this corner. He's already going to be on the charge. He's coming against Psycho down the inside, heading into the turn number 9. Somehow keeping it out of each other. Both go off the track, as well as Apex in the background. Apex is the next one to try and get past, but there goes Psycho, spinning off the track, goes the Ferrari. Tristan's already 1.1 seconds down off the back of Eldorado, but he is somehow fighting his own with no front wing, but that was very ambitious for both him and the Ferrari through my expectation. Chapley, he's going to be losing another place to the Ass, possibly on the outside. There's another yellow flag for the other Alfa Romeo. Blah, it's a terrible sprint race for the Alfa Romeo team, down one retirement and the other in 17th. This gap is just pushing itself out a little bit. We'll jump up to the front now, where it is still very close between the two Mercedes and Azzy in the Haas up front. Azzy weaving over the track, trying to break that slipstream as much as you can. The two charging Mercedes cars, both with DRS on her. They're going to be looking for any way past they can to maximise their points. Azzy's teammate is nowhere in the defence, all the way down in 10th place, so he's not going to be scoring any points. But Azzy currently leading the race, lap 4 of 5. There's only 1.5 laps left to go. Mercedes duo is going to get another double helping of DRS against each other, but Azzy just much better through the corners, through the chicanes. Not much longer left for these, jumping on board with the Mercedes of D75, gaining all the way down. Azzy fakes left, D75 moves to the left, trying to around the outside. Going to be side by side, pushed nearly all the way off the track. Somehow stays on. D75 is going to take the lead into the chicane. Azzy's better on the corners than Mercedes. Going to have to hang around the outside. Somehow does, a little bit unstable from the Mercedes. D75 just getting a little bit too much rotation off of the back of the car, but somehow still keeps it going in a straight line. He's having another look down to turn 1. Doesn't be made there. The Mercedes of Thunderbird trying his best to keep the other cars behind of King and Scarlet just out of the way of D75, so he can help his teammate take the win. Looking behind, those two cars are chasing this duo as hard as they can, but the teammate element here is going to be absolutely vital if they want to try and succeed. Multiple penalties for multiple drivers running down the grid we've seen at the top of the screen constantly. Coming around, there's only going to be about 3/4 of a lap remaining for the Mercedes team to try and get past that Haas, and she's going to be throwing everything she has to try and stay in the lead. No holds barred. There's multiple drivers. D75 getting a 2-second time for multiple warnings, as does King and Sass. As he's now got 2 seconds in hand, even if she does get past. Again, more DRS for these two. However, I don't think it's going to be enough. They're just too far of a difference between the Haas. There's going to be only very few places to make a move, and it's going to be an absolute lunge. Want to make anything up, but it's not going to happen, as he's going to be winning the sprint race. We're very hectic and very close up at the front. There is nothing in between it, as the AlphaTauri of Skirt gets disqualified just before the end. Top 6 all, or top 5, sorry, all within a second of each other. As he wins from Thunderbird and Scarlet, with D75 taking 4th, King in 5th, Sam Vick will take 6th, 7th place goes to Brady, and the final point goes to the Red Bull of Dorado. Apex has to come home in 9th, Harrison M in 10th, Tristan will be 11th, and 12th goes to OJ. Ferrari duo made up significant gains, but not enough. They're possibly very disappointed with that. 13th, 14th for them, and it's 15th to the second Alpine of Rosenquist. Moving down the field, the Aston Martin duo is even worse positions, but still not as bad as the Alfa Romeo. 16th and 18th versus 17th and 19th. Broken front wing for Saskia, not going to pit lane as it is the final lap. As Pixel's also possibly a lap down in a sprint. Already finished. The final one to come across the line officially is going to be Blah in 17th. Just dropping it over the line, but it doesn't matter, the race is already over. Don't head anywhere, there's going to be more of that very, very soon. Psycho gets your driver of the day from the game. Of course, after the main race is over, voting in the app will be open for your driver of the day of the entire event. The last sprint of the season is finished, and it's went the way of Azzy. If I'm not mistaken, that is going to be a new sprint pole record. First two-time sprint pole sitter. Unless I am very, very mistaken somewhere in the league, but Azzy will take the sprint win. And 8 points go to Haasway, but it's Mercedes that gained the most from the sprint. Second place heads to Thunderbird, and third place heads to the Alpine of Scotty42. Moving on down the grid from our top three of Azzy, Thunderbird and Scott, it is fourth place after a very last second penalty for D75, and King has to settle for fifth. Moving down to sixth is the Williams of Simon Baker, and seventh and eighth go to the Red Bull pairing of Brady and Dorado, the only other team apart from Mercedes to double score points in the sprint. Ninth place goes to Apex, who will not score anything, and 10th to Harrison M. 11th goes to Tristan, 12th to OJ, 13th to 14th to the Ferraris of Psycho and Matedo, 15th to Rosenquist, 16th to Saskia, 17th goes to Blah, 18th is Pixels, 19th is HP8, and a disqualification sends Skirthart down to 20th. Don't go anywhere, we'll be back very shortly for the main event. Welcome back to the 2023 FVC Summer Series. We're just back after a quite hectic end to the sprint race that has set the grid for the race. Azzy took the win, taking our first two-time sprint winner in the FVC's history. Thunderbird took second place, and Scott takes third place, very close to a Mercedes 2-3 in the sprint. However, just a very late penalty sends D75 tumbling down to fourth. King is sat in fifth position, and Sam Baker goes down in sixth. The Red Bull duo locks out the fourth row, 7th and 8th go to Brady and Dorado respectively, and Apex takes 9th place on the grid. Harrison M, the second McLaren, is in 10th, and a number of disqualifications already. Psycho, Rosequist and Saskia already not going to get any more chance to warm up their tyres. WR Tristan for the Atari team is in 11th place, and English for Williams takes 12th. 13th does go to Psycho, and 14th to Matedo, the Ferrari duo locking out row number 7 on the grid. 15th to Rosenquist and 16th to Saskia, but we can neither jump over to them as they are currently both sat on the grid. 17th place goes to Alfa Romeo's Bly at 169, and not very good showing in the sprint race sends him far down. FV Pixel will take 18th place, and HP8 in the second Alpha is down in 19th place. There's a Mercedes far off the track there, coming out of Chapel Corner, turn number 13. Seems to be going underway. 20th place after a disqualification is down to Hard, and there's another couple of retirements and disqualifications. There your predicted pit stop strategy. Hope you got that in, I didn't quite see it myself. 1 stop and 2 stops are predicted, but anything can happen. It is a dry race the entire way through. Heading up back to the front of the grid. Thunderbird was the Mercedes we've seen far off the track, and Azzy coming around the final corners to retake the grid slots. Ghosting kicking in, thankfully not going to be causing any problems for the drivers getting into their positions. Alpines temporarily parking next to each other. Two teammates have got a lot to show. They are two teammates that work very well together, but they are quite out of position compared to each other. 3rd and 15th. Shouldn't be too long left to go. There's a Haas completely on the side of the screen. There's your predicted pace strategy again. 1 stop medium to hard and a 2 stop soft medium medium. Whether we see those or see something completely else is yet to be decided. Jumping back to the front, let's hope we get a good look at the front of this grid. The disconnect for the Alfa Romeo of HP8 at the end of the formation lap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights are on. The long hold, its lights out, and away we go. It's a very good reaction from Apex down in the second half. Of the front of the grid looks to be about equal, as Scarlet already making a move up the front of the grid, trying to go up, look around the outside of Azzy. Nothing can happen around there. Not a great camera view. There's already a yellow flag. Cars going around. That's going to be the McLaren of Harrison M and King as well, also falling down. Azzy's D75 is a horrendous start for them. Azzy keeping the lead. Scarlet taking Thunderbird third, and Apex a huge start up to fourth. OJ also getting a very good start up into sixth place, but it cannot. The same cannot be said for the second. Williams of Salmon falling all the way down. Brady up into fifth. Potato up to seventh. And it's also a very good start as well for the Alfa Romeo of Blah up into 8th place for himself. Moving up to the front of the grid, it's only half second of gap already for the leader. It's now up to 6th of a second. The Alfa Romeo duo getting a very good launch, but Haas has to be said that had the best advantage there, and Apex is up in the position to try and be challenging for a podium. The rest of the grid seems to be underway quite cleanly. Ferraris and other cars heading up the track. Round turn number 9. These are the highest speed chicanes of Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. All cars have to get around there, and they seem to be doing so cleanly. Jumping down a little bit, Alfa Romeo of Blah is going to be challenging against Potato, heading down. Much higher speed for the Alfa Romeo down the inside, heading into turn 15. Going to be completely clear of that Ferrari. Slightly worse line, but it's not even going to matter already. Heading a better launch out of the corner for Blah than Potato. There's also got to be careful that WR Tristan doesn't get too much of an idea behind. Skirt also getting it from 20th to 12th, not too far out the points for him. A number of cars already heading to pit lane. D75 going to be one of them. Askiemo decides to stay out for the Aston Martin team. And here comes Tristan having a look down the inside, heading into turn 3. Someone makes it work, but he's going to be on the outside of the next corner. It's complete disadvantage, but somehow keeps it there. Short shifting on the entry, trying to not smoke the wheels. The hard compound tire on that Ferrari is going to give him a worse advantage as well as the compromised line. Here comes Ferrari again. The speed difference there. Very, very high downforce setup, I'm going to be presuming, for the Ferrari of Macedo, but he is still holding on into the lower point playing positions up at the front. A little bit of a top 3 gap already forming. Keep an eye jumping down a little bit further. The two McLarens running 14th and 15th, trying to chase down back up to the top as much as they can. We keep an eye on all these gaps. We're heading up again. Thunderbirds are making a move against Scarlet, heading into turn number 15. Going to be outside for the Mercedes driver. Not going to have enough grip to make it stick. Had the speed advantage, but nothing left for the corners. We're heading down into the braking, so they get to be side by side through the chicane. Outside and then inside for Scarlet. And we're going to have a better placement for her, but there's a higher speed for Thunderbird, and it's going to be a fastest lap at 131.791 for himself. Start of lap 3, DRS is going to be enabled from race control. They give it a little bit more of an advantage for Scarlet and Thunderbird if they can keep it in a second, but it is already a 1.2 second gap to the lead, as he leading the race from the Mercedes of Thunderbird. The yellow flag, one of the McLarens just spun it around. That's going to be King again. It's detrimental for him. From going from bad to worse for the McLaren team. In positions as well as his teammate Harrison M also coming into bother, heading through turn number 5. Jumping ahead a little bit, that gap has actually fell down a little bit. 4 tenths of a second, there's now only 8 tenths between Azzy and Thunderbird. There's also a big gap from Scarlet as well. However, as things calm down just a little bit, let's take a quick look at our previous winners around this circuit. Season 5 won by OJ, who's currently running in 6th place. Right circumstances for him could mean he definitely takes another win here, but Jim Obster is our 2022 Summer Series winner. Season 4 was also won by Apex, who's currently in 5th place after a very good start. And then our 2021 Summer Series was won by POR Ben 12, who is not currently with us in this race. We'll keep an eye on this battle up here as we jump down the field a little bit to follow along with the Williams of OJ. Thunderbird seeing another fastest lap at 131.187, but there's a retirement. Brady off the track, jumping back a little bit. It seems to have just went straight on at the final corner, and the virtual safety, no, the full safety car, my apologies, deployed. That locks in the positions DRS going to get disabled again, and that is possibly going to be pivotal in strategy. You might be able to change onto the hard compound tyres and go to the end now. Skirt hard, a drive-through penalty for speeding on a safety car. Not a very good showing for the AlphaTauri driver. Of course, under a full safety car as well, that's going to bunch up the field very, very close to each other. Azzy's going to retain the lead, but is going to have no gap at all. It's definitely an odd place to crash, seeing that Red Bull go out. It's a very odd driver as well to have an incident like that too. But anything is possible in the FVC, especially the Summer Series. We've had a very hectic season so far. Jumping on down the field, Azzy is going to lead. It's another drive-through penalty for Skirt Hard. Let's jump over to the detail of penalties. Don't think he can take much more of that for disqualification, but anyway, heading down the field, Azzy's going to be leading from Thunderbird, and Scarly42 is in third place. Fourth place to the second half of Apex. They're currently in the best position. None of the top three electing to head into pit lane, nor is Apex. Heading down to fifth place, sorry, going to be OJ English ahead of the Alfa Romeo of Blah. 7th place to Tristan, 8th place to Matator, and 9th to the Ferrari of Psycho. It's a very good gain from this Ferrari we do after coming from outside of the points up into the lower end of it. Simon Baker is in 10th place and out of the points for the rest of the second half of the grid. FE Pixels, BNT Rosenquist and Dorado, as there's a number of cars heading into pit lane. From the looks of it, it's going to be the Red Bull of Dorado and possibly an AlphaTauri to serve his drive-through. Moving on down the grid, the McLaren duo of Harrison M and King is down in 13th and 14th after the stops, and HP8 is down in 15th. Bit of catching up to do for Saskia and D75 as the front of the grid has now caught up to the safety car. There's going to be roughly this spacing for the restart. Whenever we get that restart, I'm not quite sure whether there is only a couple of cars left to get up. By my estimates, we should be green flag roughly by the end of lap 7 or 8. Possibly lap 9 at the very, very latest. If you're just joining us for the first time this season, we'll take a quick look at our standings while on the safety car. Azzy leading the championship, 95 points, a 23-point lead over the Alpine of Scarlet, who's currently running third, and she is set to extend that lead even further. We heard the statement of intent from her. She's intending to win this season's championship, and she is definitely making well on that. Third place goes to King, who's currently running outside of the points, down in 14th place. There's only points for the first to 10th place finishes. 25 for the win, all the way down to 1 for 10. Fourth place goes to Blah, who's currently sat down in 6th place. 5th goes to English, and 6th goes to D75. D75 obviously won the Season 5 championship. Not the greatest start to his summer series, especially not considering where he's running now, down in 18th place. And another penalty for Skirt. He's like 3 seconds time for multiple warnings. I would definitely have a feeling he is approaching disqualification soon. It's already 2 drive-throughs for speeding out a safety car. It's going to be very detrimental for him, as Saskia has had an issue around turn 15, possibly speeding in that car. It's going to be falling down to 17th place. Not too much of a loss for her. However, it is still happened regardless. In fact, heading into pit lane and speeding in pit lane entry, that's a 5-second penalty for her. The AlphaTauri of Skirt electing to not do another drive-through during the safety car period. I'm not even sure if you can do drive-throughs under it. I'll need to check the regulations myself at some point. All the drivers there are weaving to keep their tyres up at temperature. If you've got cold tyres on these things, it can be very, very bad on a restart. However, you don't want to overwork them too hot and you'll have no grip at all. One car left to catch up. It'll be the Aston Martin of Saskia Mall, and then once that happens, we'll be going green flag again. We'll follow along with Azzy for the restart. She is in control of the field. But as always, if there's anybody you want me to follow along with at any point in the race, just shout the name out in the live chat and I will head over to them for a quick ride on board. The Aston Martin's got up to the final bit of the grid. We're going to be going one more lap under safety car. We're going to be going green at the end of lap 7. There is support for Azzy in the live chat. Leading the race currently is another 5-second penalty for Stuart Hart as the McLaren of King also heads into pit lane. Azzy obviously having a very good season so far. Take another look at the standings. 95 over 72 points. Not quite a win in hand. 23 points over the possibility of 25, however. The sprint race might just increase that standings a little bit. Obviously, these are not representative of the points gained from the sprint or from this race in its current positions. They are just the standings of every round up until this point. There's, of course, the rest of this race and 3 more rounds after it. Hopefully, shouldn't be too much longer, folks. But says his lecture at Ferality, fair enough. I heard that she was doing that, but I wasn't able to head in and watch any of it myself. But Azzy is a very long time standing veteran of the FVC, holding a steward's position as well as multiple race wins, a couple of constructors championships, somehow not a drivers championship, but her statement of intent is definitely going well in her favour this season. We'll wait for the AlphaTauri off skirt. We'll bring up our results app. Code on screen, the app's available on all stores. You can vote for your driver of the day after the race is over and the results are entered. Sprint race driver of the day was given to Psycho, however, you can vote for whoever you think deserves it most. Safety car in this lap, confirmation from race control. We'll be going green at the end of lap 7. We're also going to be seeing 19 cars fighting out. Azzy in control of the field. Going to be riding along, watching her. Her discretion whenever to restart the race. All cars weaving around side to side, trying to get that little bit final heat into the tyres. Are these real life F1 drivers? Nope, these are all just virtual league drivers. I'd say they all have ambitions to race in real life in some form, but we simulate this, and it is green flag again. Azzy heading into the final chicane, decides to launch very early. Having a look back, the Siege of Thunderbird responding very well, in fact maybe even gaining just a little bit heading through the final corner. Indeed, better line for the Mercedes. Heading across the line, there's no overtaking until you get to the start finish line. Azzy weaving a little bit, trying to break that slipstream, heading through the first corner, flat out first and second turns. Azzy leading ahead well, just responding perfectly, but that Mercedes of Thunderbird is going to be catching up very quickly in the slipstream now. Just a little bit of weaving as a yellow flag down sector 1 for a AlphaTauri off skirt again. We'll keep an eye on the timing gaps throughout the field, but we're going to be watching this as the battle for the lead. Azzy's car obviously going to be much better through the corners, but this Mercedes is rapid in a straight line, heading through Stowe, turn 9 of the circuit. It's very light lift on the entry. Same goes for the next couple of chicanes, Maggots, and then Beckett's and Chapel. Thunderbird completely on the rear wing of that fast car in front, however, that much better launch out of the final corner of the chicanes. Gaining all the way up the straight comes a Mercedes. Azzy moving out to the left hand side, trying to defend the line, but can't screw hard enough. He's compelling for multiple warnings. as King also going into bother again. Here comes Thunderbird having looked on the inside, thinks better of it, just decides to stay back, have a better run throughout these next few corners. Again, right on the wing of that Haas car. Going to be side by side, and that higher speed of the Mercedes going to be having looked on the inside to turn 1. Just not quite enough alongside, but again, going to be right on each other heading through the first corners. These two are going to be slowing each other down so as they start battling, and Scarlett's going to be right there as well to try and pick up any remnants of these two. Apologies for the lag in the sessions. King heading into pit lane and retiring. From bad to worse from McLaren. Saskimol as well, not having a great time down the start finish straight, going quite slowly. Seems to be another coming together. Let's head down the field seconds. A Ferrari is spun. That's going to be Mateo. Going to be side by side. Harrison M and Psycho heading to the first corner. We'll jump up back to the front again. There's a huge side from Harrison M down the inside of turn 6. Psycho's going to be trying to hold on anyway. The gaps there are very, very small down in the midfield. One car looks to be going off the track there. Actually, I'm not quite sure which one it was. Possibly the Aston Martin of Pixels, I think, by the coloration of it. Rosenquist a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, as well as Pixels. That McLaren car has gone out of the pit lane, as you can see, just by turn 1. Or turn 2, sorry, however, it should be getting cleared out of the way. Jumping on down the field a little bit. The Romeo of Vlad's going to be pounding out the Ferrari around the outside of turn number 15. Into Stowe, there's also another spinning off Romeo. Background, HP8 heads round. DRS enabled again from race control. It's very close at the top, and that's going to be giving Thunderbird another helping, trying to catch up to that Haas car. Keep an eye again on the apps. We'll jump up out to the front, see how DRS changes anything. Thunderbird's been looking constantly for any way past and not being able to find it, but this could just be the changing moment he needs. See that Mercedes gaining all the way down the straight, having another look, just cannot get enough speed, not close enough. That Alpine as well, just ever so slightly lurking in the background, trying to pick up the scraps of these two. Nothing down the first DRS zone in terms of gaining up. However, depending on how Azzy and Thunderbird take these next few corners and head into the next DRS zone, it could entirely change the outcome of the top 2 positions. Already on top of it, so it's a much better launch for Azzy. However, that Mercedes is already gaining as a yellow flag sector 1 for the Atari of Stuart Hart. Here comes Thunderbird heading to the left hand side of the circuit, round the outside, could be looking round Stowe corner. Does he have enough contact, I think, between the two cars? Sidepod to sidepod. It's going to be going down the inside again for the inside for the first part of the chicane. Going to have a worse line though for the second part. He's going to have a much better line depending on how much Azzy can defend. Already perfect defense, already back ahead, but the Thunderbird is there. Going to be trying everything. Azzy, of course, going to be feeling the pressure. No matter how much of an experienced driver you are, how many races and wins you've got under your belt, you're going to be feeling everything from a driver this close to you. Of course, the longer these two battle, the more that Alpine of Scotland can catch up. A little bit of contact, front wing to diffuser from Thunderbird. However, Azzy, a much better launch heading down the straight, but again the DRS is going to be wide open. HP8 retiring from the session in pit lane, not going to be causing any safety car there. Down the inside again, it's a very big lunge from Thunderbird, trying to make anything work. Not enough grip. Azzy keeps hanging around the outside. Thunderbird still trying. Looking anyway, he's going to have the inside line heading out of the exit of the corner, as well as the inside for the next one. Just slightly off the corner. They're going to be side by side, heading into Cop's corner. Azzy on the red line just keeps it hung around the outside, staying within track limits. Not going to be a warning there. However, Thunderbird is all over her. You can also see the time gap, 6 tenths of a second for the Alpine behind. Pixels another 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Azzy heading into pit lane, as is Scarlett. Now, this is the changeover point. It all depends on what a lap Thunderbird can get, and as well as how well Azzy does the pit. So that's another retirement for Stuart Hart, and depending on where that is, in fact, it's in pit lane, it's not going to be changing any of the outcomes so far, so that is not what Azzy is going to be wanting. Let's take a quick jump down through the field. It's already the first pit stop cycle for a number of drivers, and it might be potentially a one stop from the predicted strategies we've seen earlier. Jump down the field a little bit as we see the Mercedes of D75 easily getting past what looked to be a lap down AlphaTauri, who's just staying off the circuit, not wanting to get in anyone's way. Not quite sure why that track is still, or not quite sure why that car is still out on track, considering it did retire in pit lane, however. It is still there. Jumping back down the field a little bit. Keep an eye just on this battle, as well as the gaps of Azzy, who's now back out of pit lane. I'll have to see if Thunderbird heads into pits, and we'll definitely jump on board with him if he does. As I expect, it'll be very close out of pit lane between the Mercedes and the Haas drivers. Jumping on board with the Red Bull of Eldorado. Closest two cars currently to each other on track. Dorado having a look for anyway past the Ferrari that he can. 5-second penalty for speeding in pit lane for Thunderbird. That's going to be detrimental to his efforts. That's going to give another 5 seconds in hand to Azzy. These are going to be side by side heading into the final chicane. Psycho just getting a better line, but caught in the corner, getting a penalty, multiple warnings. Now we'll head over to the Haas of Azzy. Scarlett in the Alpine is still right there, just behind, 8.5 tenths. They're coming out of pit lane. The Mercedes is rolling. By the looks of things, Thunderbird's going to be coming out ahead of Azzy, but will have the cold tyres and does have that 5-second penalty in hand that he still has to serve. That will be added to his race time or his next stop. See the Mercedes there ahead. It may be ahead on track, but there is still the timing in there. We can still see a couple of close cars on track. Second Haas of Apex still trying to battle against the McLaren of Harrison M. Jump up ahead again while gaps are still a little open. Dorado and Psycho still trying to go to each other. Simon Baker now losing a penalty for multiple warnings. OJ and Tristan still deciding to, in fact no, Tristan heading into pit lane, OJ staying out, Dorado having another look on the outside. The final chicane, definite contact there. Just trying to find any way past the Ferrari, but there is not going to be anything let up from Psycho. All the gaps slowly spreading out. Hard comfort tires, so 1:39.63, fastest lap of the race from Azzy. Getting through turn one. There seemed to be some form of problem with Tristan coming out of pit lane. Apex through taking a penalty for multiple warnings. Azzy is closing down that gap, as is Scarlett as well. Two drivers going to be taking advantage of each other's lines, trying to catch up to that Mercedes. Keep an eye on the gaps there. Heading back up to the battle for third place. Although he's got 3 seconds more penalties at him in hand. Doesn't deter any of these racers. They're going to be leaving nothing left on track. Of course, got to be careful of track limits. Run over them too many times, you're going to be getting penalties, and that can change entirely the outcome of the race. All these drivers are very highly skilled, as we see there. Scarlett getting a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Running outside of track limits. Here comes the Red Bull down the inside into Stowe. Easily passed as the Ferrari. Psycho's going to have a better run, but might not brakes early, in fact, heading into the chicane. He's going to let the Red Bull run away easily into the distance, heading down to the battle for 8th. Harrison M gets past. Apex into the same corner. Matator now a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Excuse me. Eye on that gap. Azzy just staying about 1.2, 1.3 seconds behind the Mercedes. No need to push when you have that 5-second penalty in hand. Indeed, just keeping yourself safe instead of pushing outright. Not only do you have to be the fastest driver in order to win a race, you need to have luck and a good strategy as well. As we all know, sometimes things just do not go your way in racing, but other times they definitely do, and in this case, it's going quite well in Azzy's favour. Still a number of drivers yet to pit. Thunderbird disconnecting from the session. Hopefully you'll be able to get back in quickly enough. I would take a quick sacrifice and try and get him in myself. I don't think I can, as that's Tristan spinning it round through turn number 7 on the exit. Thankfully ghosting kicking in, not going to be causing any issues as a safety measure. Up to here we can see the Mercedes of Thunderbird just falling down off the grid after the disconnection. Can't do anything. And that promotes Azzy up into 4th place now, actually, as Psycho heads into pit lane. Tristan's retiring as well off of the side of Maggots, and it's going to bring out another safety car. The second one of the race now. Depending on where certain people are, that might just prove perfect for some people's strategies. 5-second penalty speeding in pit lane for Sam Baker. We see as well Apex just in the perfect position and not getting a penalty heading into pit lane. We'll jump on board for a quick pit stop. Nothing else heading on around the track. Of course, the pit box for Haas is quite far down, quite disadvantageous for this team. The medium compound tyres for the second driver in Haas. Williams behind coming out. Also look to be on the mediums too. This could play quite well into the Mercedes of D765's hands. 11 or 12 seconds a gap in front, plus that safety car slowing everybody down. He might get in and out of pit stops and retain first place ahead of net lead Azzy. Of course, we'll jump over to this group 4 now, their closest bunch on track. I don't think we'll see Azzy heading to pit lane herself, however, I'd be surprised if we didn't see the Mercedes. Indeed, he is taking advantage of the situation, getting breakdown early, making sure to not get a penalty for any of his job. We'll keep an eye as well for where he comes out on track. In fact, I don't think it's going to be a first place for him. It's going to be very, very close though. Early pit box for Mercedes. As well as the Red Bull as well coming in. In fact, Azzy's coming in too. That's going to promote the Mercedes up to the lead. The Red Bull's going to have to sit in his pit box for a little while, serving a penalty, as OJ decides to stay out. Like, no, it doesn't. The Red Bull doesn't actually have to serve any of its penalties. A little bit of a glitchy and, frankly, laggy, but nothing we can do about that. Server connectivity is not the greatest. We'll take a quick pause break and I'll see if I can get anybody back into the session. I don't think I have any people added. In fact, I don't, so I can't grab Thunderbird back into the session if he hasn't joined already. Couple of cars still yet to catch up. There's a group of 5 and then another 2 stragglers just behind them. Not including anybody that might be heading through pit lane as well at this stage of the race. It is definitely an ideal point to head through the cycles. Just over the halfway point into the race. definitely take a tyre change if you so desired. You wouldn't be losing out too much, but I don't think we'll be seeing any of this top group heading into pit lane and giving up their position. And indeed, we aren't. Ferrari of Matteo still yet to catch up. However, once that happens, we should be going green at the end of this lap. We thank you all for your patience. Don't head anywhere. We'll be back to racing shortly. Shouldn't be too much longer before we get the confirmation from race control that we're going green at the end of this lap. They're approaching the final sector. Just after these number of chicanes is the last sector on the track. And indeed, there it is. Safety car going in this lap. Going to be going back to green very shortly. Let's head over up to the front following on the Williams of OJ English. Both Mercedes behind, but one of them is still not into the session. Of course, only so much we can do from our end. Technical problems for others are quite restrictive in what we can achieve. I expect that first Mercedes of Thunderbird to be falling down in the field quite soon. Going to be over to OJ now. Fully in control, he can choose when to launch between now and the start line. And indeed, he chooses the same place to go as Azzy. Accelerating into the final chicane, getting the jump on the Mercedes behind him. The Mercedes just losing out a little bit, however they are the best of the current non-leader. Much better line for D75, much faster. So it's already Rosenquist in the Alpine, not even making it to the start-finish line before having a problem of their own. They're still able to keep going. No issue for them. Let's jump down a little field. Watch along with Azzy going round the outside of the Alfa Romeo of Blah, heading through turn 3 and 4. Of course, no DRS for a couple of laps after the safety car restart, so it's going to be relying on your pure pace and straight line speed for those first few laps. Azzy is already giving a bunch of time. Going to make quick work of that ghosted Mercedes. Keep an eye on the gaps for her. We'll jump down a little bit. Psycho under threat again from the Alfa Romeo of Blah. Heading on board with him. He's going to be around the outside of Cop's corner. Just not going to have enough grip to make it with the hard compound tyres. Don't have enough lateral stability as the mediums on the Ferrari ahead. Not as much grip, but the tyre does last quite a fair bit longer than the mediums in front. Coming under threat now against the McLaren of Harrison M. He's going to be having a look on the inside of Stowe. He's going to be blitzing past and making the move work. Going to be wheel to wheel heading into the chicane though. The Alfa Romeo does have the inside line into the first bit, but he's got a tighter corner to make. OJ and then D75 and do fast lap of the race. So 129.691 for the Mercedes. As he's going to be soon on them though, it's only 3 tenths of a second up to Dorado. Taskimo, another 5 second penalty for speeding in pit lane. It has gone from bad to worse. Again for her. Jumping up to Azzy, who's currently in the fight again. We'll keep an eye on the gaps lowering the field. Azzy's going to be on the inside, going to have a much better run out of turn 3, just to back up a little bit. Coming up to the rear of that Red Bull. Straight line speed is not going to be that car's strong suit, as you see, not gaining until the very end of the straight. We're going to be having a look around the outside. It's a very ambitious dive and a very ambitious move, but running off the track. Going to be gaining a warning for that, but keeps away a penalty. Going to be side by side still through turn 7. Red Bull of Dorado is going to have the outside line, going to have a faster line, going to have a lift for confidence, but it depends where Azzy is and how much space she gives. And there's going to be very little, both of them lift for confidence. If they go too wide through the corner, somehow not running each other around the road. Dorado's going to be right on the end though. I'm going to have the slipstream all the way down the next straight as D75 will keep an eye out the front. Dorado getting another chicken penalty for multiple warnings, cutting the corner. Keep an eye on this, but we'll jump up to the front. D75 is gaining all the way up against the Williams. Losing a little bit, we'll jump down again to Scarlett, who's currently right in the back of that Red Bull. Azzy not too far ahead, big wobble of the Red Bull to the corner. And down the inside, Red Bull outbrakes himself. Scarlett, she's trying to look anyway. There's the DRS enabled from race control. Scarlett's going to be the inside in the corner, making it move. Runs out of road a little bit over herself. All depends on how much straight line speed that Red Bull has, trying to get back up as much as she can, or as much as he can, sorry. We're going to be fighting it out, but the DRS is going to be coming into effect again. We'll jump aboard with D75 on the Mercedes. He's going to have the assistance himself. We'll jump aboard with OJ as well. Looking back, rear wing of that Mercedes is going to be wide open, gaining all the way till the braking zone where it's slam shut. These two both race winners. In fact, I think everybody down to about 6th place is a race winner, possibly down to 7th. Very tight competition in the FVC. Many previous race winners currently with us. Not sure how many different ones we've had this season so far. Whichever way it goes, all these drivers are very deserving of the points they score. Here comes the Mercedes again, going to be doing a second helping of DRS, trying to catch up, and look at the speed difference. Williams ahead, harvesting energy, you can see by the flashing rear light, trying to get any advantage for later on in the lap that he can. These two have about 4 3/4 seconds in hand until Azzy catches up to them. But if they start battling, that gap is going to come tumbling down. It's going to be slowing each other down. So they want to be avoiding that as much as possible. Yellows in sector 3 for a Red Bull of Dorado. Psycho a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. We'll head down as Psycho most likely cut through in the final corner. Dorado falling just outside of the points. Of course, this middle group is getting very close together. We'll come back up again to the front. These two are not giving up to each other. Rivals in Season 5, both going down to the final race of the championship. They're definitely going to be rivals again here. Dorado, another penalty. Red Bull having a very poor day. First car to DNF and running out to the points with 15 seconds penalties in hand. The gap that these two are actually pulling out somewhat to Azzy, who's now down to 5.3 seconds. Heading aboard again. A much faster run all the way to the inside, nearly in the grass, goes D75 heading down to the inside of Stowe. They touch though, they're going to be taking each other out, they're both stuck. Spinning round goes the Mercedes. Anyway, to the replay scene, that's going to give and Azzy a huge bonus against these two. They just took each other out heading through the corner, it all blew over just a little bit too much. Rivals collide. Azzy up into second. OJ still retains the lead with a 3-second time penalty for him. And D75 has fell down to 4th. Scarlett's there in 3rd, but she has a 3-second penalty herself. Not long left in this race to go, but D75 is still very much in it. He can definitely gain that much up. Judging by the tyre differences and how much of a gap they were pulling out for that contact, I think he might just be able to catch up a little bit. OJ lead for 3-second penalty, so Azzy's going to be having the net lead. Although she's got the win pretty much secured if she stays in this position for the rest of the race with no problems. She's still going to be trying everything to get it on track. Need to be careful though not to replicate what the Williams and the Mercedes done ahead of her, which is very, very possible between two very experienced race winners collide with each other during the battle for the lead, and that's entirely possible. We might see it again. Higher speed from the Haas car, heading to the left-hand side. Easily breezes past the Williams, not going to be any contest there. OJ at this point knows the best he's fighting for is about third place, but it entirely depends how close that McLaren of Harrison M is to the back of this group. He might be able to snatch a podium depending on how big these penalties get for OJ and Scarlett. Half a second gap already up to the top, as he's running away with this one quite easily. The battle for second on track between these two, OJ and Scarlett, is going to be getting ever closer. Scarlett's going to be getting the slipstream and a helping of DRS. Pulling out quite early though, not getting the maximum effect of it. So I think it's all calming down towards the end. These two are closest cars on track. Up 24-26. Time's running out if they want to make any final last-ditch moves to try and get any final points. Anybody watching along the live chat that wants me to jump over to anybody for the ending stages of this race, then please let me know. Otherwise we're going to be focusing mainly on this battle. We'll also keep an eye on the battle for 6th place between Psycho and Blah. However, there's a 6-second penalty heading the Ferrari's way. Taking a penalty for Mateo. Pixels heading into pit lane again, hopefully for the final time in the race. Weaving all the way, trying to break that slipstream as he's not running away as fast as she would hope to be, but still has a pretty comfortable net lead over these two. Still need to be careful of that Mercedes in the background though, who is gaining with the second, now within DRS range of these cars or thereabouts. Running off the track goes the Alpine. Probably going to get a warning for that. Lucky to not get another penalty, depending on how much she is on. Use it well. That Williams in front still harvesting energy, going to be all the way down the straight. So that's going to be a gain for the Alpine, depending on how much battery she's using. Heading to the final lap, though, I'd say OJ's harvesting as much energy as he can to dump it all on the final lap of the race. On board to the car currently running in second place. D75 is closer than ever, only half a second gap now. As he's not really running away from the front as much as she would hope him to be. It's a little bit wobbly from the Williams heading through the first corner, gets it back before any major problems occur. We're going to be jumping on board again with the Alpine of Scarlett heading on board. We know how fast this car is. Alfa Romeo of Blah leaving the session down in 7th. It's going to be detrimental possibly for the ending of this race. Already falling down to 8th place. Going to be keeping an eye on this though. Scarlett still trying to get anything she can. She knows it's possibly the final podium space. Depending on how big that gap gets, it might just be enough. Harrison M's right on the fringes of possibly getting a 3rd place finish. Running wide again goes Scarlett. Going to be the final time. It's all the final lap though. We're going to be having no holds barred for the ending of this race. Taking aboard with the Mercedes of D75, gaining all the way up the straight. but gaining is not going to be enough. He will take it through the penalties. He won't be doing it on track, as he's going to be winning round 6. The British Grand Prix heads the way of Haas as he wins the FVC 2023 Summer Series British Grand Prix. D75 will take second and OJ takes third. Harrison M by 0.4 of a second misses out on the podium, and Scarlett is down in 5th. Apex will take 6th place after a phenomenal recovery drive. Psycho is in 7th and Blah goes in 8th place. 9th heads to Salmon, and the final point goes to Matado in 10th. 11th sees the Rebel Dorado. 12th will head to VNT Rosenquist, who gets very unstable heading around the final corner. Good car control to keep it out of the wall. And the lone AI of Thunderbird will probably be taking home 13th place. 14th and 15th will head to the Aston Martin duo of Pixels and Sass. So we head over to Pixel 2, who's currently going backwards around the track. The race may be over, don't head anywhere though if you're watching along in the live chat. We will be heading to our post-race interviews very shortly as soon as these two come across the line. If these two come across the line, that is. Been a rough year for Aston Martin so far. Good at the end of Season 5, but they have a quite hard fall from grace in the Summer Series so far. Rounding the final corner, here comes Sass, spinning it again. Breaks off the front wing, doesn't break a wheel, but that's all that will matter. Harrison M gets Driver of the Day voted by in-game. Don't go anywhere though. Voting will be open on the app very shortly, and you can dictate who you think had the best drive. Another win for the leading Haas driver. Championship leader extends her lead by another 26 possibly points, depending if she got the fastest lap, as well as that sprint win, another 8. Top of the tables, going even further in her favour. It's a first place finish for Azzy at the British Grand Prix. Second and third place heading towards the Mercedes and Williams drivers. But nobody has anything to answer for the domination presented by Azzy so far. Heading on down the field for the rest of our finishers, Harrison M for McLaren, just missing out on that podium. Very, very close to it, just not enough at the end. 5th place goes to Scarlett and 6th goes to Apex. 7th place from 13th on the grid is Psycho, and 8th place from 17th on the grid goes Blah. 9th place heads to Simon Baker, and 10th place, the final point, heads to Matado. Fastest lap point went to D75, so it's only going to be 25 points in the main race for Azzy. She's not going to mind too much. Her championship lead is just extending more and more. 11th place goes to Dorado, 12th place to Rosenquist, 13th to Thunderbird after an unfortunate disconnect, 14th to Pixels, and 15th for Saskia. Your DNFs are Tristan, who is classified 16th, 17th goes to Skirt Hard, 18th to HP8, 19th for King, and 20th for Brady.